Let's move along here. Captain America.
Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Yeah.
The older among us will remember that. You don't remember that, do you, Keaton?
No, I don't remember that, no.
No, that was like an old cartoon in the 60s where all they did basically was take the panels from the comics and like move the camera
Right.
to get a sense of motion. They did no animation. All right, so I am old enough. Speaking of how old I am, I had this in its original printing. I bought this when it came out. So this was the first appearance of Sabra, the Israeli Mossad mutant superhero. Now, it's kind of interesting the way this whole storyline ends in the comic. The end of this is this is what passes for like liberal Zionism. Boy died because boy's people and you both want to own land. Boy died because you wouldn't share. See, leave it to the Hulk to boil down complex international relations to such a simple formulation.
And better than John Fetterman.
Actually, that is better than John Fetterman. In fact,
yeah.
I think he might have taken his look from the Hulk.
Right.
Actually. All he needs is the purple pants. So a Palestinian boy dies in the fight. And this narrative is really interesting. For an instant, Sabra prepares to give chase. She is, after all, an Israeli super agent, a soldier, a weapon of war. But she is also a woman, capable of feeling, capable of caring. Can you tell that this was written by like geeks who never got laid in their lives? She is also a woman. It has taken the Hulk to make her see this dead Arab boy as a human being. It has taken a monster to awaken her own sense of humanity. So Marvel, I am assuming that they made this decision before the MCU completely collapsed financially and they were riding high enough because yes, the whole idea of this Captain America project is very woke. It's very 2020. It has that feel. It has that vibe. It already feels like a project from another time. But throwing in this Israeli superhero to this Captain America project, that's not really woke. So why did they do it? They probably had a bunch of Zionists on the board, a bunch of Zionists who were in their ear, who decided they could use the popularity of the MCU to get young people to think Israel is really cool by having an Israeli superhero in the movie and use the movie as a vehicle for Zionist propaganda. So even before October 7th, BDS was calling for a boycott of this movie because it was going to feature Sabra. So part of what they said in their letter to the public, or actually I think this might be the whole letter, Palestinians call for widespread boycotts of Marvel's 2024 film Captain America New World Order unless it drops Sabra, Ruth Bat Saraf, that's her secret identity, its superhero that personifies the apartheid state of Israel.
I mean, if you're an Israeli superhero, you should have a more generic name than Batsaf Saraf. You know what I mean? Like that kind of gives it away that you're the Israeli superhero. You know, which one of these women is Sabra? Is it Jane Mansfield or Bats Sarat?
Well, but hang on. In the comics, she works for Mossad. She lives in Israel.
Right. So there's a lot of bats for
yeah,
us. Okay,
exactly.
okay.
They changed it for this and made her American.
Yeah.
The characters, or she's Israeli, but she's working for the American government. They especially after they got the backlash, apparently they made a lot of changes. The character's backstory includes working for the Israeli government and occupation forces. By reviving this racist character in any form, Marvel is promoting Israel's brutal oppression of Palestinians. We encourage creative, peaceful protests to challenge Marvel Studios and its owner Disney's complicity in anti-Palestinian racism, Israeli propaganda, and the glorification of settler colonial violence against indigenous people. principled filmgoers would have boycotted a movie featuring a superhero that represented the South African apartheid regime. Well, not Elon.
Right.
Likewise, we urge conscientious audiences worldwide to join us in boycotting Captain America New World Order. They changed that, by the way. And standing up for freedom, justice, and equality. So obviously, after October 7th, the cries to boycott this film got even louder. They just had their premiere this week. That's got to be Grumman's, because I spent enough time there when I was hosting for Jimmy's. This is right across the street from Grumman's Chinese Theater. So let's take a look at the protest.
I think you forgot to upload it, but I did. Here it is. I have
look at you.
Yeah.
All right, so from Variety, that also released that footage, pro-Palestine protesters call for Captain America Brave New World boycott at Los Angeles premiere. Several dozen pro-Palestine protesters gathered Tuesday outside the Hollywood premiere of Captain America Brave New World and called for a boycott of the film over its inclusion of the Israeli superhero Ruth Bat Saraf, a.k.a. Sabra, played by Shira Haas. Protesters held signs that read, "Sabra has got to go," "Disney supports genocide," "Boycott Captain America," and "Pray for Princess Jasmine." They chanted phrases such as "Free, free Palestine" and "Disney, Disney, you can't hide." The inclusion of Sabra, who was a Mossad agent in the comics, sparked controversy among Palestinian fans in 2022. Marvel soon released a statement assuring that it is taking a new approach to the character for Brave New World. That's what they changed it to, from New World Order. While our characters and stories are inspired by the comics, Marvel said in a statement to Variety, they are always freshly imagined for the screen and today's audience, and the filmmakers are taking a new approach with the character Sabra, who was first introduced in the comics over 40 years ago. Brave New World producer Nate Moore added in February that Sabra is not Mossad in the film and works in the U.S. government instead. Quote, "What we thought was interesting was a lot of the characters in the film revolve around President Thaddeus Ross, played by Harrison Ford. Ruth works within the government under Ross, so her perspective on that character and Sam's perspective sort of put them on a collision course. She's first generation Israeli, but she works within the U.S. government." Yeah, that makes it a lot better. Having a Mossad agent embedded within the U.S. government. No, that totally clears it up. Sabra's first appearance in Marvel Comics was in an early 1980s issue of The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
Even
her tagline
then,
is "She investigates herself."
yeah. Even then, her presence was she's the APAC handler for Congress. Even then, her presence was contentious since it brought the voice of Marvel into the Israeli-Palestine conflict. So I just want to make a point here. For one thing, I don't think they have to worry about this movie making any money. It's a famously plagued production, partly because, for one, as I mentioned, they decided to greenlight this very kind of 2020 anti-racist version of Captain America before the MCU collapsed and before the culture took a rather drastic turn. So this is, it takes years to make a movie. So very often there's a culture lag where when the culture changes that drastically between the time you greenlit it and the time it comes out, it already feels like this is a project from another time. Supposedly, they had to completely reshoot this entire movie. Supposedly, the whole movie was scrapped and shot again. There are rumors that it cost as much as $400 million to make this movie, which there is absolutely no way in hell they're making back. But on top of that, as is usually the case when they have to completely reshoot a movie, it's probably not very good. So I don't know that they have to worry with or without a boycott that it's going to make any money. So just as a side note, I do watch some of these nerdy geek movie review channels, and these channels live and die by covering every passing of wind by Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. There is absolutely nothing. The Mickey Mouse sneezes, they've got a video up about it in 10 minutes. Not a word about this. Lots of Captain America 4 is doomed. Doomed, I tells you, nothing about why Palestinians might be protesting it. Captain Anti-America Anthony Mackie at a publicity appearance very unfortunately said, I don't think America has anything to do with Captain America, so they were able to get content out of that for about a week. Nothing about Palestinian protests.
We're gonna have 1 million views. We're in the wrong line of work.
I have always said that for as long as we've had this show.
Anthony Mackie said Captain America is not American.
That's it. Boom.
Just scream that for 5 minutes. Boom. Cha-ching.
Look, man,
see?
we should
see what we put ourselves through for you guys in the audience.
Yeah. I always say, man, Cash
AI.
Jordan. I could just go out there. I could film a rat and be like, New Yorkers flee because of rat infestation. Boom.
Rats take over New York City.
Yeah, 1.7 million. Yeah. There you go. All just, about all. Like, really, if you're a channel and they're increasingly desperate for content because they're not going to make stuff like this anymore. Like, these are the last of these things spilling out of the pipeline. Everybody's scrapping their DEI departments. This is done. Some of them are so desperate they're trying to become news channels now. For the first time, I'm seeing them trying to release news stories. Not a word about these protests. Not a word about these protests. All this about the review. Oh, look at the reviews. Nothing about the fact that there's been a boycott against this movie for 2 fucking years. 2 years. Nothing. Now, a lot of people will look at the new media like Tim Pool and they'll say, see, they're giving me the truth. Are they? Are they? Is this really different from the old corporate media? Isn't it just as curated? Look what he's telling you. Conservative boycott. You would think you'd mention that there's this Palestine boycott that's been going on for 2 freaking years. Conservatives were not going to go see this anyway. It was too woke already. This is not... There's no need for an organized boycott. They're not going to go see this. There's
a black Captain America. You think they're going to go see it?
Of course they're not going to see it. So when you think you watch Tim Pool or you watch these other alt media figures, now you're getting the truth. You're not getting the truth. You're just getting a new, hipper version of the same curated reality that you always got.
Right. We have dates. It's not that we don't have dates. We have dates. We can go to the movies with our dates, but we're just not going to go see Captain America. But hey, look, good on them for protesting that. It does seem like, they'll be able to claim credit for a tanked production. It doesn't seem like that movie's going to really crush it anyway. But yeah, man, I mean, that's great. And, there's been a sort of, liberal sort of meme going around, not meme technically, but it's been a sort of, one of the things that runs through their echo chamber now is that there haven't been pro-Palestine protests now that Trump is president, implying that people only protested for Palestine because they wanted to tank Joe Biden. Well, there actually have been. There have been quite a few since Donald Trump said that he wanted to buy Gaza and own Gaza. Right. There have been these protests here surrounding this movie. I'm sure, when this movie opens wide, there will be protests in different theaters around the country. That was obviously the premiere in Los Angeles. But yeah, no, I mean, there still has been protests, and we'll see if the protests continue on the Israel-Gaza front. By the way, it seems as though Netanyahu is going to abide by the original plan to do a gradual hostage exchange. In other words, he's not going to enforce Trump's proclamation that they have to all come by Saturday at high noon or else all hell will break loose. It seems as if Israel
Really?
is going to be more patient than that. So
Really?
that is a positive. That is a positive, at least in the very short term. That's what the reporting is. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. I mean, you can't, like I said, this is why I said as soon as that ceasefire was put in writing, I said you never know with Israel when the other shoe is going to drop, right? There's nothing they won't do. But in any event, we know this is far from over, and so we know that protests will continue. And yeah, you should absolutely boycott this movie, 100%.
There's no way on God's green earth I was going to set foot in a movie theater to see it to begin with.
Well, that's what I mean. It's easy to boycott because you don't want to see it anyway.
It's very easy to boycott. Why
Right.
would you want to go see this?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yes, if you were thinking about subjecting yourself to this, don't on
Right.
principle.
Please clap.